Continuing our discussion about skating, there's a third option. Super Skates offers the use of the rink for a flat rate of $1,000 for an unlimited number of skaters. If we're going to write a linear equation for this situation, we need to know what our variables represent. In our previous situations, we said let x be the number of skaters, or the number of students, and y be the total cost. Now, this one's a little bit unique in that we actually don't have any students to speak of with this. We only have money. And so we know it's a flat fee of $1,000, which means there are no additional costs. There's no cost for each student. It just means that your total cost would be equal to $1,000. What we're going to do is add a column to the previous activity for Super Skates. We're going to graph the equation on the for Super Skates on our grid in the previous activity. So when we look at the column right here, got to get rid of this beautiful star that I drew. And then we get to add one more column. And then we'll see that it was saying this is a place called Super Skates. And remember that this one was saying y equals 1,000. And since y equals 1,000, then if 10 skaters show up, it's $1,000. If 20 show up, it's $1,000. 50 show up, $1,000. 100, it's $1,000. 150, it's still $1,000. Wow. So no matter what, we've got $1,000 for whatever we do. So based on these questions, and we talk about this graph, our graph is not going to be sufficient for it. So we recognize that with the graphing, sometimes the graphing just doesn't work out so well for everything else. But see, I'm not totally that mean to you. I'm actually going to give you a copy of this graph that the book gave us, and we're going to see a couple of things so that you can just use this. I'm not going to make you draw it, but I want you to recognize something. Here's the intersection of 120 and 500 for the other parks, but now we see these other two intersections where we see Super Skate Park, and we see an intersection right here on 200 and an intersection over here somewhere between 230 and 240. And so we're kind of confused on some of these. So we're going to see if we can figure out how to find those values to see how many people have to show up. Okay? So let's go back to this. Remember, $1,000 for any number of kids. Seems like a good deal, right? Well, let's find out. Use substitution to determine when Super Skates is the same price as Skate Park and Roll-A-Rama. If we're going to do this, then we have to figure out two different scenarios. We need to figure out first, like Skate Park compared to Super Skates, and then Roll-A-Rama compared to Super Skates. So let's do right over here first. Which case you need to use substitution to determine the solution? I think we'll use substitution for both of them. Let's take a look at the equations. We have y is equal to 200 plus 3 times x. And then we have y equals 1,000. Remember this side, this is for Super Skates versus Skate Park. Under this solution or this situation, we can substitute y in for y, and we see 1,000 is equal to 200 plus 3 times x. And then we subtract the 200, giving us $800 for our skaters. And we divide by 3, and I find out that that is going to be, big number. That's going to be 266 and 0.6 repeated, so that's in 2/3 for x. That means if 266 and 2/3 students attended, then we would have been the exact same value. It's going to take 266 and 2/3 students to go to Skate Park to be equal to Super Skates. But, we're not going to be taking a 2/3 of a kid, so it would take takes 267 students to make super skates worth it. So worth $1,000. It would be just under $1,000 or just over $1,000 for 267 students. And I know that because if I take this number, 267, put it in right here, let's just show it in our calculator. 200, let's go like this. Let's go 3 times 267 is 801. Plus 200 more dollars. This would cost us $1,001. We'll just say it takes 267 kids because it's $1,001 for 267 kids. Okay, now let's go and compare the other one. This one should go quicker. Super Skates versus Roll-A-Rama. And we see with these ones now, we have y is equal to 5 times x, and y is equal to 1,000. And so this one's pretty simple because now we can just simply say 1,000 is equal to 5 times x. So how many skaters would it take to have 1,000 to cost $1,000? And that should be 200 skaters. So 200 students cost $1,000. Now let's make sure we answer the questions. It says use substitution to determine when the price is the same at skate park and Roll-A-Rama. In which cases do you need to use substitution to determine the solution? I think substitution was better for both based on what the graph looked like. It was kind of hard to read it in the graph. A table, I would continue to guess and check, and I would probably not think to check 267. That would probably not really work. And so what I'm looking at when we talk about this, in which case do you need, determine and use substitution to determine when the price is the same at skate park, I could say this. Well, I already did. $267 is the same as at Super Skates and skate park. 200 students is the same at both parks. So if we're going to go to Super Skate Park, when's it a better option? We could say Super Skates is better when there are more than 267 kids. Now you might think, well, why aren't we saying 200 kids? Well, because for this case, that's far fewer kids to take to the park. So we could take a lot more kids to skate park. And then if it ends up being more than 267 kids, we can take them to Super Skates, and then we still set up a good situation for ourselves. So just to recap, 267 kids is $1,001. 200 kids at Roll-A-Rama is $1,000. And then at the skate park or Super Skates, it's just $1,000 no matter how many kids come. So Super Skates is better when you have 267 or more students. But we still want to stay with from 100. I think there's some other values we can look at here. We can say fewer than 100 students. We go back to Roll-A-Rama. And between 100 and 267, we go to skate park. All right. Explain under the conditions you would recommend each skating rink to the director. I think I just kind of did that right here. I see what I did. I didn't follow directions. It says Super Skates is a better option than going to skate park or Roll-A-Rama. So anytime we have more than 267 students, this part right here should just come straight down here. Solely on the cost to rent the skating rink. Explain under what conditions. Well, if we're talking about fewer than 100 students, Roll-A-Rama. If we're talking about 100 to 267 or 266, go to skate park. Anything more than 267, go to Super Skates. So that could also be written right down here in number 5.